Welcome to the Culture Shock Podcast on the Dynasty DNA Podcasting Network, where Big Culture Bob breaks down the 5 things that stood out this week in the NFL, the good, the bad, and the ugly of NFL and Dynasty Fantasy Football topics every week. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. And here is your Culture Shock host, TJ Blake.
Welcome back, DNA Strand crew, to the newest episode of the Culture Shock here on the Dynasty DNA Podcasting Network. I'm your host, as always, TJ Blake. You can follow me over on X at FFTJBlakeDNA. And, with the season right around the corner, this man does not need any introduction. It is the cultured one himself, Big Culture Bob Helfert. You can follow him over on X at Big E Fat Bob. Bob, preseason, the eve, right? We've seen the Hall of Fame game, but we're on the eve of the preseason. I know that you're someone just like myself that don't get too overly involved or overhyped with training camp videos or preseason, but today we're going to be talking about 5 rookies who have the most to gain via the preseason, right? So I'm excited for this one, Big Culture Bob. You ready to talk about this horrendous 2026 class once again?
Yeah, I think that maybe they should call it the Hall of Shame game because, man, they just keep putting turds out there. I don't understand. Whatever. It is what it is. And it's like I love our little group chat, and then Teixeira throwing the question out there is like, oh, Carson Beck. And I'm like, stop it. It's just like I can't do it. He gets under real pressure. He's going to turn back into the pumpkin that he always was, so.
The interception thrower, right? That's what you're looking for.
That's right.
But Teixeira, to his credit, said sell now, right? Because there are people
yeah, I guess he did.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a great part of the question, right? Because as you know, there's people that buy the hype. But Bob, today, 5 rookies that have the most to gain via preseason. We'll start with the number 1 on your list. Let's just jump into it and talk about it right now. Who is that first player on your mind?
Well, the farther down the list or whatever, and I was just like Denzel Boston or whatever. Like, so supposedly in camp or whatever, he's looked really good. Of course, KC gets drafted ahead of him. Kevin Concepcion gets drafted ahead of him. And, the guy struggled with drops or whatever in college. Denzel Boston really didn't. He's a much bigger player than Concepcion is. We had so many attractive players get ruined in this draft. It's hard to come up with some that, even though they have a lot to gain, it's not like we're super excited about their outcome. But, so don't hear what I'm not saying. Don't go bet the farm on Denzel Boston. But I do think that he could become the one in this offense because Jerry Jeudy's just toast. Harold Fannin is very good, but I don't know that Monken is going to – first off, I don't know that he's going to last through the year. And then number 2, it's just – a prototypical offense is just going to have a wide receiver be the lead target unless, your tight end is super special. Now, Fannin can be, but let's not put the cart before the horse. Denzel Boston has an opportunity here to kind of seize it. And if I'm not mistaken, Concepcion is dealing with a little bit of a shoulder issue that he brought over from college. It is what it is. That doesn't mean that he's not practicing. I've heard that it's like he's off and on or whatever. It's going to monitor and it's going to need rest. And, of course, when they're a first-round draft pick, they get a little bit more leniency. But Boston is showing out, in his opportunity. And I just think that he's got a chance to maybe in a room that's full of not much, if he could just show that he's, a different cat than what they've had and show the next coach that I can be a one in this league.
Yeah. And he has the body type to do it too, Bob, right? I know that on From Whistle to Whistle, we kind of talked about this, I believe, right? Or it might've been the Dynasty DNA deep dive. Who do you think the one probably will be at the wide receiver position? And I have to agree with you on the Denzel Boston call out. Now, as you mentioned there at the beginning of your monologue, my thing is I'm like you. I'm not overly investing. I'm not putting a ton of faith in it. Mm-hmm. But if we're talking rookies this year, right, we're talking about best overall outcomes and potential outcomes. He's definitely got a clear path because, as you said, Jerry Jeudy does not scare me at all. You look at Concepcion. A very talented kind of joysticky type player, but we already see he's a little bit banged up. Can he get the wear and tear and be able to handle that at the NFL level. And then you add the fact in too, it's just like they're both on the same scale as being rookies. But like you look at Boston, he's a little more versatile. You can play him outside. He's not a big slot guy, but I mean, he could play that if you needed him to. But you mentioned the tight end thing with Harold Fannin, and this is very interesting to me. As you know, I'm a big Harold Fannin fan, and I think the guy is an elite freak talent. I'm on board with you there. And you mentioned it, though, like, will this system be friendly enough for Harold Fannin? And we know Todd Monken, coming from that Baltimore-type tree, we seen Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely be decent in them offenses, but we've never seen them absolutely dominate either, right, under Todd Monken. We haven't seen that. And my question is, too, Bob, like, Harold Fannin is one of these hybridish type guys. Like, is he going to use it in the right way? Is he just going to put him on the line all the time, right? And he's not going to put him in the slot. He's not really going to split him out. How creative is he going to get with Harold Fannin? Because we see coaches in systems being ignorant and stupid and not doing things to play to players' strengths all the time. So it will be interesting to see how that puzzle goes together. But going back to Denzel Boston, look, I mean, this wide receiver room's wide open. He's that big, prototypical X-type wide receiver. And you look at the touchdowns, like, I don't think there's going to be a lot there. We talk about this a lot, obviously. But, I mean, in the red zone, he's going to have an advantage down there, too, just size-wise, right? So, I mean, I think that could be playing into account here, too, for him to be the number one on this team. But absolutely, Bob, I mean, you look at it, right, the preseason camp, if he has a good camp, if he plays a couple strong preseason games, if he just does everything right enough, there's a runway here where he could get the most targets out of this wide receiver room. Like you said, now that could be, very, very uninspiring, but I mean, it could be there. So and I think you can vouch with me on this, Bob. I don't love this class either, especially 109 to 112. But if I drafted back there and I drafted Denzel Boston, I think I would at least feel like, okay, I'm going to get something, right? Like, it might not be wonderful, but compared to some of these other players, I mean, at least you have an opportunity to get something this year.
I just think he's a better dart than most your other dart throws, right? If that makes sense. Like, I think it's a higher percentage chance to have something. Now, we're still talking about Cleveland. We're still talking about Shedeur Sanders or no quarterback at all, depending on how they decide to, obviously they're going to put a quarterback out there. But if it's, Shedeur or Watson, I'm not thrilled with this season. Well, of course, it doesn't matter. Anybody in their room, I'm not really thrilled with, at least for production. I'd love to see him. I don't like the guy. I mean, I shouldn't say I don't like the guy. He's oozing with talent, but I'd love to just see him throw Taylor Green out there. If you're going to suck, just suck all the way to the bottom. Do it right.
Let me just say, Bob, you're absolutely right. The guy does have talent. We know that. That's for sure. Like, I mean, it's just a horrible landing spot. We talked about that, right? Like, a bad draft went from bad to worst when these landing spots all happened. But, I look at it like this. If you have Denzel Boston, this could be a good sell opportunity right after this season, because it's something I don't believe in long term. And, I'm in the AFC North, and from what I'm seeing, Deshaun Watson's look horrendous in camp. I think he's thrown like 8 or 9 interceptions already. I mean, you can't put too much stock on the camp things. I understand that, but this is a guy that's underwhelmed since the word go when he got to Cleveland. And it ain't like he's coming out and he's looking good and he's feeling good in practice. Like, it's still not good, and it might be getting worse. So
just a thought experiment, TJ. I'm just sorry. I didn't mean to cut you. Well, I did mean to cut you off, but because I wanted to ask this question and it stuck in my craw. What's the dream scenario for Cleveland? Like, what's the new head coach? What's the quarterback that they get? You could paint that picture probably better than I could. And it's like, I'm not satisfied with much of anything, but what do you think?
Well, it's like what you said, Bob. I think if you're going to suck all the way, right? I mean, there's no doubt about it. Like, if you can land in them top 3 picks, at least gives you flexibility, right? Like, you can make decisions. Do we want to go quarterback yet again? They could do that. Do we want to trade this pick, get a haul? Do we want to, maybe go with something more on the interior line, or, maybe a playmaker of some kind? I mean, at least gives you flexibility. I mean, Cleveland, we know, has a variety of ways of screwing things up, but I will say, like, this quarterback play in this team is going to be horrendous this year. I just feel that way. Like, I mean, Shedeur, I would almost say, like, hey, if you want to throw him out there, give him a shot, just because, hey, you did waste draft capital on him. but I don't believe in that going into next season. They're going to do something different at quarterback, and I honestly think Todd Monken's a one and done. I really think so. I think that he's just a sacrificial lamb of some kind. So, but all right, Bob, let's get into number 2 here. A rookie that has the most to gain here from the preseason in your mind. What do you have?
Well, you brought it up pre-show, and I kind of was just going to stay away from it because he was a first-round pick. But I think you're not wrong. Jadarian Price or whatever. With Chardonnay hurt, I think that this is his opportunity to show that, hey, I can kind of be a stud here. You need to give me the opportunity. I mean, he really only has Emmanuel Wilson, George Holani to deal with outside of Charbonnet. Now, Charbonnet, I heard, is, while being on the PUP, has at least progressed pretty well. I think that this is a team that is okay with kind of, I don't want to say circling the drain because that sounds super negative, but I think that they're okay just cycling through players. I don't think that they're really super attached. You know what I mean? They don't have Marshawn Lynch walking through the door anymore. Let's just go ahead and keep, putting a different guy out there every 4 years. Why extend a running back when we could just keep going through players? You know what I mean? Why? That's the least important position in my opinion. It's nice to have a running game, but it's not like, your whole system falls apart by not having like a superstar. So I think Price or whatever, if he performs up to snuff and he can show that they don't need Chardonnay to be extremely healthy and that he can be a lead back, then I think that he's got a lot to gain as far as that goes. Now, it might just be showcasing itself for the next team, which is kind of what I was hinting at because, they let Walker walk, which, is probably a smart move. You don't want to pay that much money to a running back, especially one that can't seem to do what we'd expect Walker to be able to do. I know you're not a huge fan of Walker, so I'm preaching to the choir there. But like legitimately, I just think that they're cool with cycling through guys, but Price has got an opportunity to show that he could be a lead back that he's never been before.
Oh, absolutely. And you look at it, right? It's all lining up that way for Jadarian Price. Now, I still think that it could maybe underwhelm some people because you got to remember this kid's still a rookie, right? And you look at this team structurally, I mean, there's still a little bit of flaw there, right? Like, I mean, they just won the Super Bowl. They've lost some pieces. Are they going to be as hungry this year as they were last year? You know how it is, Bob, right? The wolf on top of the hill isn't as hungry as the one climbing the hill. I mean, that definitely could be a potential. With Seattle, we know the Rams just absolutely loaded up. This is a tough division. But I'm 100% on board of the fact that Jadarian Price, if you drafted Jadarian Price, this is huge, right? This is huge these next couple of games and the regular season. I don't know when Charbonnet is going to be back. I don't think it's going to be like months and months. It might be October, might be towards the end of September, maybe even later October, early November. I don't know. We don't know for sure. I mean, from all signs are looking like you might miss a handful of games. But this is your chance, like you said, Bob, to plant your flag on this running back Everest here in Seattle. And you have a chance to do it. Whether he does it or not, that's up to him. But if it is kind of mediocre, though, and it doesn't go well, I don't think I'm just going to sell Jadarian Price for peanuts because there's going to be people that are going to want to buy for peanuts. And I'm not going to, fall into that trap because I do think Charbonnet is not long for there either. I really don't. He's always been banged up. As you said, they cycle through players consistently and often, and that's just the Seattle way, right? They draft them, they turn them over, they churn and burn. That's just how it is. And I like the player. I just don't like his current ADP right now, especially his startup drafts. It's just a little too high for me. I get that he was a back-end first-round pick, but looking at it like this, does Seattle just draft based on need, because they have a lot of, positions filled? They do. They could go ahead and overdraft a guy, and it don't hurt a team like Seattle like it does some of these other teams at the top of the draft board. So, I mean, it might have been just a need-based pick that maybe should have waited 10 or 12 spots later to grab them there. But, hey, I can understand it. They wanted to get running back help. That's fine. Like you said, Kenneth Walker's gone. And you look at it, it just seems like this team has really, just tried to find their way again, running the football, playing defense. That's what they want to do. So, I think that with Price, you're going to see at least a solid campaign, but I don't think it's going to be what everyone hopes. I think everyone hopes that he's going to blow up And just based off this division alone, Bob, outside of the Arizona Cardinals, one of your favorite teams, that it's very, very tough, right? We know this division's a tough division. So I think word of advice, if it doesn't go super well for Jadarian Price early, I'm not going to sell for peanuts, but just expect what to expect. Like, I think this guy is going to be a mid to high-end running back, too, for the majority of his career. There's nothing wrong with that, but I just don't see superstar written all over Jadarian Price, especially in Seattle, Bob, long-term. I just don't.
I just think he was overdrafted, and I mean it's fine. You know, you're not wrong. I think that I don't know that there was any. I'm trying to think of positions that they really lost that you would jump up for. You know what I mean? A lot of it was like safety play, nickel corners, you know, things like that. They did lose some stuff on the defensive line, but I think it was players that they were kind of tired of. They were kind of okay letting walk. Of course, Kenneth Walker you know, and it's not like this team is like a heavily featured the tight end team. They would rather just super feed JSN instead of, you know, burning a first-round pick on another wide receiver. They just felt like it was a luxury to take the player, and he was the second player, you know, second best running back probably in this draft. I still think he's overdrafted, but that's what it is. But he, like we talked about, he's got an opportunity to shine. If he puts some shine on it, awesome. If he turns into a turd, it's not like we kind of didn't expect it because the cold class sucks.
So let me just ask you, Bob, because this is all just coming into my head as we do this, right? Like, it's funny how you think of certain players and situations. Like, if I drafted Jadarian Price, what could maybe I look to get for him, or like, what could I do to shake it up? Would you rather have Travion Henderson, Bob, or Jadarian Price?
I believe in Henderson's talent more. What I'm afraid of is the situation more in New England. But if I think I'd just rather have Travion. I think the talent or whatever outweighs it for me. I think that I could see, because they're supposed to, I think, is it Fleury or whatever, the new offensive coordinator or whatever in Seattle, and I may be pulling that out of the wrong orifice there, that I might not be right. But I think it is Fleury, and I think he's like a Shanahan guy. And if that's the case, like, is it going to be a system where whoever's in there succeeds? That's great, but I just think that New England really wants to run the ball and play defense, and I think that eventually, if they still have hope of making the back to the Super Bowl or whatever, then they can't have Fumblerooski, Ramondre Stevenson out there all the time. You know what I mean? And what we talked about before with Henderson is he's much more of a home run threat than Stevenson.
Oh, yeah, because it's the classic ceiling versus floor debate for me, right? Like, right. I mean, I'm not just sitting here criticizing Jadarian Price. Like, I just don't see a gigantic ceiling with him, right? Like, I just don't. Like, I just think he is what he is. I will take the gamble on Travion. And you look at it, too, division strength, right? Like, you're going to have those teams that you're running up against in Seattle that are just tough. The Rams this year, if Aaron Donald's coming back, and it looks like he is with Myles Garrett, my God, good luck against that. And then you have San Fran, who I know is banged up, but you know Shanahan's always going to put out a good product. But then you look at, Travion Henderson, you got the Jets, you got the Dolphins, right? Like, it's a little bit, and the Bills have been a little suspect on stopping the run as of late. So, I mean, look, I think that there's going to be a point where they're going to have to try to unleash Travion a little bit. I mean, you look at it, he was almost a back-round and first-round pick himself. So, I mean, I'm going to go with that. But, I mean, you look at him one for one on the calculator, very close. So, like, if you have Jadarian Price and you're a fan of Travion Henderson, maybe you want a bit more of a ceiling, go that route. See what you could do with that. Shake it up a little bit. But Bob is absolutely right. If you have him rostered, Jadarian Price, right now, these next handful of weeks are going to be very, very crucial to see if he could just go ahead and take this job outright, or if it's going to be more of a split right away, right? Like, if it's going to be one of them things where he does well, he could just run away with it. We don't even have any more questions to ask. But if it's kind of just muggy, they're having trouble running the ball, then we're going to be back into a two-headed monster again, just similar to what we seen in New England last year.
So let me flip this back to you a little bit. Are you I'm going to try and find a way to sell Jadarian Price no matter what?
I think so. I think he's being overvalued. Again, not a bad player, not insulting him. I just think he's going way too high, and he's thought of and valued too high for me, right? I think that's where it ends up. Because, like, last thing I'll say, look at Zach Charbonnet. Look at Kenneth Walker, right? Like, I mean, like, they were okay. But, like, do you really think they're going to take you to the promised land? Not really. I mean, they're more of a depth back for me. So go ahead and give me Travion Henderson with the ceiling to be an elite player. I think he could do it with the pass catching. He can do it with the running and the big play potential.
I think the one thing in a nutshell is like I've talked about this a couple times. There's only so many teams that run one back like 70% of the time, right?
Right.
A lot of them they're just in committees, and I don't believe that Jadarian Price is out of a committee. The first half of the year he might be because Chardonnay is going to be hurt, or nursing his, but don't talk too loud. The George Holani crowd's liable to come out. So I mean, it's like that guy's got his followers too, and it is what it is. I mean, I think that it's going to be until that leopard changes its stripes and isn't a running back by committee team, then I'm not going to be too excited about, even though they spent a first round pick. I'm like, yeah, they spent a first round pick on Clyde Edwards-Helaire too, and look how good that guy was. That's happened more times than not.
Najee Harris,
Sony Michel.
Yep.
I mean, like there's a whole bunch of them.
Third player who you think has the most to gain here, Bob? Which rookie?
Chris Bell. Let's go with Chris Bell. I've heard that he's close to being able to play preseason game 1. And of course, just last week or whatever, or we talked about Malik Washington. Like, if Chris Bell can make it on, if he can just show health, you know what I mean, for 4 preseason, do they even play 4 preseason games anymore? It's only 3. That's what I was thinking. Like, I was like, hold on a minute. Like, I forgot all about that stupidity because, heaven forbid they only play a quarter. They got to play a whole other game, and the first week still looks like trash. But Chris Bell or whatever, he was borderline first-round pick or whatever before he got hurt. It was a real tragic thing for the kid or whatever. But, of course, he still gets drafted. He's still got an opportunity, so let's not cry too many tears for a guy that's in the NFL. But I think that if he can show health and the ability to be a solid target for Malik Willis, then like the rocket ship could just fly for this dude, because I think he's got the talent to show us, Garrett Wilson type, hype or whatever. So like it is what it is there. And I mean, he's not Garrett Wilson, but he's a really good football player. I just think that that team is so starved for real talent at wide receiver. And I mean, of course, that's kind of the whole crux of this discussion is really like when you see that there's this gaping hole that you call your wide receiver room, and this shining stud gets to drop his crutches and go, okay, coach, I'm ready to play. Like, woo, just like it would shine. It would be awesome. So if he can show the ability to run and cut and do all the things he needs to do to be an NFL football player, I think the sky's the limit for Chris Bell.
As you said, though, Bob, right? Like, the guy was sought after before the injury. Like, I mean, he does have talent. I think a lot of people forget that, right? Like, Miami was able to get him a little bit more on the cheap because they took a chance on the injury, right? Like, I mean, they drafted him where they drafted him, took a chance on it. We'll see. As you said, it's looking like he's going to be ready to go. And, I always talk about this, Bob, on any kind of dynasty show we do. I always use the phrase opportunity and value, right? Like you said, there's a big black hole, a suction hole gap of wide receiver help needed in Miami right now. And, I've talked about Malik Washington. As you said, I think as far as the old head there, at least he's going to probably have a good opportunity to be on the field quite a bit. I know that for a fact. But you look at this young guy, they need a number one, a true number one. He could have the potential to maybe do that. And Malik Willis needs a target. I mean, he really does, like a bigger target. Because, like, you look at the tight end play on this team, what's there in Miami that's really attractive? I mean, there's nothing.
Greg Dulcich, man. Are you serious?
Yeah, he'll be out at the end of training camp. Don't worry. He's another guy. Best abilities, availability. He's never available. And you look at it, like, they just don't have anything outside of Devon Achane in the wide receiver department, in the pass-catching department in general. So, I mean, look, I think that this is a good shout-out, Bob, just for the simple fact that, yes, this guy has a ton to gain, because if he can come back from the injury and he can look good, this team could draft a quarterback next year. This team could, maybe trade back or, maybe get multiple pieces. And, they're going to have to be active and do something. And maybe it could all come together and he could be a part of that, right? He's young enough. He has the age. But look, it's going to be still, I think, a little bit of a long shot on this team, Bob. You know, just like we talked about with Cleveland, these teams are bad, right? I mean, they're real bad, and sometimes no player can overcome that. So, look, there should be a plethora of targets to go around in Miami. I can't remember who said it. I think it was Logan that said, look, they're going to be bad. They're going to be throwing the ball a lot. I think they have to out of necessity. So, hopefully the kid's healthy. Like you said, he can run, cut, jump, do all the things he needs to do. If he is, it could be one of them best value picks for your buck, right? I mean, you're getting them, in third rounds in Dynasty rookie drafts? I mean, in some instances, you're getting them super, super late in Dynasty startups. Maybe even goes undrafted because maybe people in your league don't know who he is, right? So, right. Chris Bell, I think, is a good shout-out, Bob, and I like that a lot.
I'm imagining on the sunny beaches of Miami, and I pull into the Dolphins parking lot, and every sign has got now hiring, concessions, wide receivers, tight ends, like stadium vendors, just like it's just thrown in there, like wide receivers, tight ends. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think that, but the kid has talent. Again, I believe he was very highly thought of prior to tearing that ACL or whatever. And if he can just come back and put something on the field again, I think the sky's the limit for the kid, especially with, the opportunity that would be in front of him. I mean, I would be so much higher on, say, Omar Cooper if he ended up here. You know what I mean? But now he's like the second. Of course, he couldn't be a 1, but I would still be higher on him because, like, he wouldn't be behind Garrett Wilson and attached to Geno Smith. Of course, whatever. The Jets. Let's not just blame Geno. Let's just say the Jets. But even still, I would be higher on that type of a player. The two guys that went to Cleveland, either one of those guys in Miami would be like, oh my God, all the targets he's going to get. But it is what it is there.
Absolutely. Well, Bob, we just got to get one of them shirts, Big Culture Vice City, right? Because I know Miami's going to be on the Culture Shock a lot this year when we get into the season. I'm almost certain of that. But all right, number 4 on the list here, Bob, for, rookie players here that have the most to gain from preseason.
All right, I'm going to go with one more before I get to the one that I think is just ridiculously obvious. But I want to see Nick Singelton do something. You know what I mean? Like, I think that running back room is not scary. Pollard managed just to scrape together 1,000 yards, but like, it's Tony Pollard, right? And then, of course, you got No-Knee Spears or whatever back there behind him that can't stay healthy. Him and Dulcich are drinking lattes somewhere between Nashville and Miami, because they can't be healthy at the same time. I think Nick Singelton, and it's like, you want to talk about a guy that oozed talent. His freshman year or whatever, people thought this guy was going to be the second coming of Saquon Barkley. And then, of course, it's like, I don't know I can't really recall if like injuries derailed him or if it was just like he just kind of put it on skates. You know what I mean? I wasn't sure. Like, was there like a significant injury in college? I don't really recall anything.
Nothing significant. I mean, he might have been banged up a little bit if I recall right, but like there was never no nasty injuries. But like the thing is like Katron Allen was always that grinder between the tackles, guys. They could not get away from him. And I mean, look, maybe it was just a bad fit at Penn State. It absolutely could have been. But you're right, Bob. There is a ceiling here with this player.
Well, and Franklin, I can't remember that dude. He's an idiot.
Oh, yeah. He sucked.
He's a terrible coach. Great recruiter, apparently, because he can get people in there, but, like, he's just a terrible coach, a game day caller or whatever. And, I mean, of course, the hype around Penn State most of the time is their strength and conditioning. So we know that Nick Singelton is probably stronger than just about – half of the NFL's, running back core. I don't know, that's probably a little bit of exaggeration, but even still, like, I think that everything about the kid oozed potential his freshman year. And for whatever reason, it just kind of fell off. And I don't think that the position he's in now in Nashville or whatever is anything that he can't, if he shows what he showed his freshman year, he'll blow through that door. it's just because, again, Spears is nothing to really worry about. He can't stay healthy long enough. And then again, Tony Pollard is not like a world beater. You know what I mean? If we don't talk about Tony Pollard as like, oh, dark horse running back 1, blah, blah. No, he's dark horse. We hope that he gets running back 3 numbers or whatever. And he's the last starter you may want to try and grab if you have a huge hole. So Nick Singelton, of course, has got an absolute, I don't know if I should call him Nick or Nicholas. I know that Nicholas is the big thing, but like, I just think that the guy's got a huge opportunity to bust through that door and show us what he did his freshman year.
I think the biggest problem in Tennessee, I mean, like you said it, like I think Tajay Spears could have been a really solid, good football player in this league, but unfortunately the knees, it just isn't going to work out. He's never been able to be out there and sustain, more than like a 50, 60% snap share consistently. And the fact that he could be banged up quite a bit as well. But like Tennessee still does not have a true 3-down running back to me, right? Like you look at it, like, as you said, Bob, we're going to committees a lot. You're seeing a lot of 2-guy type systems, and that's okay. But like they just don't have a dominant force or anyone that projects to be a dominant force. So when you look at that, right, I mean, this kid absolutely does have a chance. And as you said, I mean, I'm a Penn State guy. Franklin was a hell of a recruiter, but he's terrible in big games. He was terrible when it mattered most, and it seems like they always come up short. And coaching matters, right? Like, I mean, he goes there with Brian Daboll, and, a lot of people like say, oh, Brian Daboll, like they shit all over Brian Daboll. But, like, some guys are just better coordinators than they are coaches, right? I mean, it just is what it is. I look at Brian Daboll as one of the better offensive coordinators in this league. Look what he did for Josh Allen. I will never, ever, if Josh Allen says, this guy fixed me throwing the ball, he's an immaculate coach, take him for his word. Like, he's just not saying it just to stroke the guy. You know what I mean? He's saying it because, he actually did help him. And I look at it like, I know he had a bad experience with the Giants, but, like, this team was a dumpster fire, the Giants, and he took them, to the playoffs, right, with Daniel Jones. Like, he ain't chopped liver. So, like, if Nick Singelton gets down there with him, like you said, Spears will probably be hurt at some point early in the season, unfortunately enough for him. And what do you got, Tony Pollard in front of you? Like, I mean, Tony Pollard is a change-of-pace running back. He is not a consistently great 3-down runner. Singelton has that ability. He just couldn't do it in Penn State. But, as we know, coaching matters, scenery matters, changes matter, and you look at the defenses in this division. I look at that too, right? I mean, Houston definitely is a big X. That's scary. That's worrisome. But you look at the Colts and you look at the Jaguars. I just don't think that there are 2 units that overly intimidate me, right? So Tennessee, we talked about Cam Ward hoping to take the ascent. This could be another piece to that puzzle. So again, I mean, a 2nd-round pick in a ton of dynasty rookie drafts, right? I think that's good value where you're getting them because he's going to get an opportunity this year at some point. I truly, truly believe that. And if he really impresses, like we talked about, this is the structure of this show, who has the most to gain, right? If he truly impresses in a couple of these preseason games, Tennessee is going to know that they have something, and he could get on the field even earlier. Just hope, as Bob said, that freshman year when he was coming in and he had that buzz, he could still hit that hype, right? This guy's still a young guy, and coaching matters. And if he can do it, you could have got yourself a nice little gem here, Bob.
Yeah, I want to. He's 22, so 22.6, however that works out. I guess that's 0.6 means 6 months. I don't know. That doesn't make much sense to me off the top of my head. But the one thing I want to talk about with Daboll real quick is there's a thing I've heard. It's called like the Peter Principle or whatever. It's like you get hired to a certain level, and you while you're good enough that you're excellent at that level, and then you try the next level and it just doesn't work out. Well, think about Daboll, man. You took away his superpower. You know what I mean? Instead of just calling plays all the time, he's handing that off because he's got to deal with the other issues or whatever that goes along with being on a team. So I would rather have Daboll calling plays than trying to run the organization. And I think that's just I mean, personally, I mean, we're doing things at work or whatever with leadership classes and things like that. And I really think that they want me to move up. And in all honesty, while I think I could do the job, I'm not so sure that I want to because I don't care to manage people very well. You know what I mean? I could be okay with it, but like, yeah, I mean, whatever. It just is what it is. It takes away my ability to be on this microphone, and I don't want to do that. So that's,
I love it. I love it. But Bob, see, though, that's what's great about you. That's honest with yourself. And, you know, like, you look at, like, Brian Daboll, though, like, it's the same thing. Like you said it. Like, just because the guy couldn't manage a football team, go back to when he was calling plays, right? Like, you do what you do best, and that's what that guy does best. So, Nick Singelton, I think, is a good one to watch out for, Bob. Has a ton to gain, right, with a week to go here when the preseason starts. Good shout out. One more to go, Bob. Last one on the list. You said it's the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, I think this dude, if he could, I mean, I think that there's a lot of people that believe the hype. I personally am not that guy, and I don't believe you are, and I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of us in our group or whatever that are not. But if Kenyon Sadiq or whatever can set the world on fire and be an outlet for Geno Smith, then I think it's to the moon. Like, he could blow into that top, 7. You know what I mean? We talk about 6 all the time. Like, he could be number 7 and we would forget about Kyle Pitts. You know what I'm saying? Because the guys, I think he's slightly less athletic or whatever than Kyle Pitts, but I think he's more tight end than Kyle Pitts, if that makes sense. It's not great one way or the other, but like, Kyle Pitts is definitely more wide receiver than he is tight end. I think Sadiq can be more tight end than receiver. You get the point. But like, I just think that anybody on this team showing anything or whatever is going to have an opportunity to blow up, because not only if Geno Smith just doesn't look like a turd and facilitates and, keeps them in games, and, if we see a lot of shootouts or whatever, because I think that's really the only opportunity the Jets are going to have to put anything fun on tape is shootouts, because I don't know if they're going to be, setting the world on fire points wise and everything like that. But you know what I'm saying. I just think Sadiq or whatever could make us forget about some of these other tight end, the TJ Hawkinsons, and, as much as we like Jake Ferguson, like, if you got one more player in that top echelon, then you don't have to reach so far for, Jake Ferguson. You go, oh man, I could get Kenyon Sadiq, it just is what it is there. And more than likely, we know that it's probably not going to happen, but I just think that this is an opportunity for a guy that is athletically gifted to put himself on the map, and he's going to need a big preseason or whatever to get us to forget, to just make us, it just is what it is with tight ends. Most of the time it takes them longer to develop, but if this guy can jump on the scene right away, then we're going to be talking about him extremely highly because of his athleticism.
For sure. And two, like, who is the number 2 option in the passing game behind Garrett Wilson? Someone's got to solidify that, Bob. And this is what I love about, like, the layout and the format of this show. Again, like you said, I don't have a ton of confidence in Sadiq. We didn't have a ton of confidence in Boston, but you look at it objectively, right, saying, like, there is a chance here, right? Like, if they could prove us wrong from what we're seeing in the player, opportunities there, will they take it? And you look at the Jets right now, I mean, this could put Mason Taylor to bed completely too, right? Like, I mean, like, is there still them few Mason Taylor fans out there? Like, I just think that, hey, it didn't work out. They went another direction. They got who they got, and they proved it to you. They spent a first-round pick on him. Like, I mean, they're going to use Kenyon Sadiq. It's just, can he deliver on the goods? And like you said, Bob, like, he's got to establish, I think, himself as more of that tight end presence, just not this bigger, oversized slot receiver a la Kyle Pitts, right? Like, because if you get that with the Jets, they are not well enough equipped, coached, or anything else to throw the ball all over the parking lot, right? Like, this team needs more firepower. It just does. And this could be a big step for him. And, they have a chance. He has a chance to get on the field. The pathway's open. They wouldn't have spent a first-round pick on him if they didn't want him to be the guy. So we'll see what he can do.
Yeah, there's still Frank Reich there, though. I'm sorry. I try to be excited about a guy, and I'm like, I can't even. I get so far, and I'm like, but the whole thing in a nutshell, the whole gist of this podcast was how can they improve? What
Right.
can they do to prove us wrong, or what can they do to skyrocket themselves into? And I mean, I just think that, like I said, we talk about, really the 6 tight ends or whatever. And I think after that, half your 12-man league or whatever is just searching for scrubs, you know what I mean? Or rotating, the Jake Fergusons and the, things like that around or whatever. I've said it ad nauseum, right? The fact that it doesn't matter if the system doesn't favor the tight end. Something that we talked about that we wanted to mention is that some players are going to be behind the 8 ball, because if they don't get healthy before the preseason starts, then that generally puts rookies behind the 8 ball. So if they're not healthy, kind of watch out and go back to Chris Bell or whatever. I think if for whatever reason he had a setback, I don't think Miami was super intent on using him until next year anyway. But if he jumps ahead of the schedule, then of course we're excited about it. But some rookies come in late. Odell Beckham Jr., right? Wasn't he it was a big stink or whatever, and he ended up showing up a little later and then just blew up, right? Didn't last very long, though. That star burned really bright. But it is what it is there. I just think that Sadiq and these guys all have a glaring opportunity in front of them, and if they can show some mettle during the preseason, then I think that their value is going to go up.
Absolutely. And like we said, this show wasn't us endorsing them or putting our stamp on them saying they're going to be great. It was more of here's your opportunity for these players that we see is wide open. Can you take advantage of it, or will you not take advantage of it? And, it will be coming down to these teams. Some of these teams are so bad, right? And we'll see if they can break out, and it's going to really be what it comes down to.
Well, the one thing I wanted to go back to, and I thought about it while I was going through names, and now I forgot, and then I'm going to bring it back. Kind of like an honorable mention group. We kind of talked about Katron Allen, right? That room's kind of wide open. Is Bill going to be the guy that seizes the day there? Mekhi Lemon, right? There's a glaring opportunity for wide receiver too, but he's banged up a little bit right now with the hamstring issue that he had in college. Jonah Coleman or whatever. Is R.J. Harvey really that impenetrable? You know what I mean? On top of the fact that J.K. Dobbins can't really stay healthy. They're dying for a second wide receiver in Washington. Of course, they signed Diggs or whatever. That might put a little bit of a sting on Antonio Williams, but it doesn't hurt to have 3 wide receivers you can kind of quasi count on. So that's another guy I think that could jump up there. And I think there was one other one that I wanted to talk about, but I think one that's another piece of low hanging fruit is I think if Fernando Mendoza or whatever can show that he's more athletic, which he's got to be more athletic than Kirk Cousins, that and just prepared, if he's just ready or whatever, then they might throw him out there to the Wolves, which could be good or could be bad. But I think if they're smart, they'll just let Kirk get beat up instead of Mendoza.
For sure, I agree, Bob. But listen, I mean, what a great episode, right? The preseason's right upon us. Talking about these rookies, right? Big years coming up, see what they can do. They are the fresh blood in the league. But listen, if you guys are enjoying the podcast on Apple Pod, Stitcher, Amazon, Spotify, any of the big podcasting platforms, and you haven't yet, and you are enjoying the show, please follow 5-star. That greatly helps. We so appreciate it. We really appreciate you guys tuning in with us and listening. If you want to check out Dynasty DNA on YouTube, subscribe to Dynasty DNA on YouTube. All kinds of great clips and videos coming out over there from shows and little pieces of stuff that we feel is important that, we're going to put out there. TikTok, right? Dynasty DNA, TikTok, Facebook, X. Follow us all over there. Dynasty DNA _ on X. Listen, I know I speak for Big Culture, Bob, and everybody here at the Dynasty DNA Podcasting Network. We say, hope Monday starts out great for you guys. And just remember, put a smile on your face. Football is back. But we'll see you all on the next episode of The Culture Shock.